All right, and we're live. So today we've got a great guest. Today we have Chris Newell from the Accredited Seniors Agent. So Chris, why don't you take a quick second and tell us a bit about yourself and why you're here?
Sure. Well, I'm here to spread the love for seniors. My passion, my mantra is sort of expressed in the statement, making seniors matter again, because I think that as a society, seniors have become kind of disposable. And I teach courses to realtors, financial planners, bankers, lawyers, accountants, people in retirement residences, all kinds of people who interact with seniors in their daily course of business.
So why don't we take a step back and just kind of explain how you got into the seniors market and how that happened, where it's led you?
Sure. Way back in the early 90s, I took a course in seniors real estate. I went to Texas and took the course, and I then entered a competition to list a seniors building, and in Milton I had 36 hours to put together a package, a presentation and everything, and I fell in love with working with old people. I ended up, I always say the money from being in the building for 11 years, the money was really great, but I gained 100 sets of grandparents. And
That's awesome.
yeah, and it's kind of funny because in my professional work, everything has been around seniors for close to 20 years. But in my volunteer work, up until a couple of years ago, I was vice president of the Holton Children's Aid Society.
Okay.
So two opposite spectrums, but basically a lot of similarities too.
So for yourself, how long have you been in the real estate business then?
1993, beginning of 93.
And you still currently sell real estate now?
No, I let my license go middle of last year.
Okay. And now you did that to take over the Accredited Seniors Agent full-time then?
Yeah, I've been doing this full-time for closing in on 4 years now. And so I just, when it was time to renew my license, I said, no, I'm not going to sell real estate, so don't need it.
Okay. So what would you say then, we'll just start from the beginning, is what would you say is the biggest difference for working with seniors than a non-seniors market?
Probably the number one thing that a lot of agents find to be a challenge is seniors, unlike most people in the rest of the age group, seniors want relationship first. It's very much a very personal relationship, to the point where I would have the adult kids of a lot of my clients would say, well, how do you know that about mom and dad? We've never heard that. And I mean, it's because I would take the time to talk to mom and dad and find out what they were about, and very, very interesting. So I think semi-jokingly say in class, you've got to learn to love, because if you're going to talk to a senior about maybe selling their house, your first appointment probably won't even be about real estate. It'll be about building the relationship. And you could be there a couple of hours, and you can't turn down tea, and you can't turn down cookies or fruitcake. And I got told off recently for being, for stereotyping. But I'll tell you, man, I've eaten so much fruitcake, over the last 20 years because it's just a reality, So I'd say that's probably the biggest thing, is slow down. And you ask, seniors are a different generation.
Right.
Younger people tend to be more open with what's going on. It's not the way they were raised. That's not the way they lived their life. And so you're asking them a whole bunch of, stuff that to them is a lot more personal than you may think it is. And so, it's called conversational reciprocity. So you have to give them a bit of you, the person, as well, more than you normally would with other clients to help build that relationship.
Okay. So now I want to get deeper into the marketing and how you do it, but I want to start kind of explaining a bit about what the Accredited Seniors Agent is for people who don't know, so they have a better understanding of what the program is.
Okay, so the ASA course it's a 2-day, 4-day course, and it's offered at brokerages, it's offered at real estate boards, and we run it in quite a few retirement residences now as well. And over the course of 2 days, we go into just stats and data on, where the seniors are at, where they're living, that kind of thing, how the numbers are growing, how the, people's longevity patterns are really changing quite rapidly over the last 10 years, and that's just going to keep increasing as well, to where men and women live the same amount of time. We talk about we call them cohort traits. So why, if you're dealing with someone who's in their mid-80s, they'll think a certain way. Well, why do they think that way? Well, they think that way because, they were raised by parents who, when they were born, these kids had just, the parents had just come through the Great Depression.
Right.
And so life was very different, and those values were instilled in them, and they didn't lose those values throughout their life.
Right.
So we cover that kind of thing. We talk about the future housing options for seniors. So there's a huge variety of options. We talk about taxes and insurance issues. We talk about wills and the whole probate process. And we talk a lot about the ancillary services. When you work with a senior, our most experienced, our master ASAs, we have a list of about 50 professions that will be involved in different situations with a senior's move.
Right. And
the realtor is sort of the logical hub of the transaction, because the realtor is the only one who touches on all of them. We teach through case studies, so it's really like a workshop more than, a 2-day sit-down class. I've just finished redesigning the course to make it much more interactive than it has been in the past. Excuse me. And then we bring in a few outside experts on things like guaranteed income and senior move managers. We have someone who's going to be speaking at some of our classes about our new real estate auction relationship, and also about reverse mortgages. So we bring in outside experts, and then we spend a bunch of time on, okay, so you've got all this information, how do you make money from it? And that's a real sort of focus of the rework of the course, is helping people make more money because they have the designation. So it's a real practical thing.
So for the people who are listening who don't know Barry Lebo, we had him on a couple episodes ago. He actually started the program, and you kind of took over with him then?
From him, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So if someone's interested in doing this kind of thing, would you say they should have experience working with seniors beforehand, or is this kind of program give them enough information to run with, or is it a more advanced for someone who's wanting to take their seniors business to the next level?
The program definitely gives them enough information to take and run with, and then we offer a number of sort of follow-on programs as well. We have a course called Essential Outside Experts who help with the tough conversations that families know they need to have, but they typically can't get out of their own way to have them. And so that course is all about recognizing those situations and recognizing which professionals you need to refer people to. And we have another course called Bridging the Gap, which is all about effective communication with seniors, and we really delve into some of the psychology and the sort of coded into your DNA stuff about why seniors are the way they are. And it's the kind of thing that it sounds really heavy, but it's quite simple to understand when you know it, and it can change your business and change your personal relationships with older people really quickly. And we have a couple of other courses like that. So the ASA is certainly enough for people to get started into the senior market. Then you should, have more education.
So would you say the average age of people in the program, or would you say they're a younger crowd, a middle-aged crowd, or a seniors crowd doing it? Or do you have a good mix?
There's a pretty good mix. And I've noticed that, as the credits have sort of become less important for people, I'm finding there's a lot of people in their late 20s, early 30s coming into the program, which is interesting in several ways. They come in sort of wondering how the senior client will accept them.
Right.
And my experience is they accept them just fine. And we have quite a few members who are in their 30s who do phenomenal business with seniors. Again, it's about relationship.
Yeah. So, how many of the agents would you say make the seniors niche a part of their business as a core, like as a whole business?
I would say there's probably 350, 400 in Ontario who focus. Seniors are their complete target.
Right.
And then there's a whole load more who. Seniors are a strong pillar of their business. One of the great things that people say, and I certainly found this working with seniors, is you don't work nights and weekends.
Right.
You work daytime.
Yeah.
And offers are done during the day and all that stuff. So
it's definitely an advantage. So, of the people that are doing this, did they have experience with seniors before, or is this something that inspired them, or they took the course and found out about it and then decided to work in the seniors market, or do you find there's some crossover with past experiences?
Yeah, I'd say probably half and half. There's people who come in and say, I work with quite a lot of seniors, and so I want to know what I don't know, and then there's people who come in and they realize that their client, agents who've been in the business 20 years who've, all of a sudden realized that their client base that they've had for those 20 years, they're starting to get old,
right.
And so they want to learn about how do they relate and how can they serve them better. So we see a mix. And it's really interesting because, when we have non-realtors take the course, the people who work in retirement residences are typically sort of in their 40s or 50s, and they've worked in that field for a long time, and they have great feedback to give us on the program.
Yeah, it definitely would help, I'm sure, getting some more insights.
Yeah.
So then, obviously you gave some of the advantages, such as not working during nights and weekends. What are some of the other advantages with working with seniors then?
I'm going to say that for one thing, you typically won't have commission battles. People say, well, that's great, I can provide all this extra service and all that stuff, and then they'll just go and hire the guy who charges $500. But in the reality, that's not the case, right? Because first of all, those agents don't take the course. I know the companies that everybody's with, and I can't guarantee that, people who take the course don't charge alternate fee structures. And with seniors, it's about, take care of me, make this easy, protect me,
right?
That kind of thing.
Yep.
So I'm going to say the commission issues. Also, there's a certain level of respect given. They respect you if you earn their respect, and they appreciate professionals. Mm-hmm. So it's just a whole different world.
Would you say that there's a lot of referrals going on in that because of that trust and respect, that you get a higher chance of getting referrals to their friends and family?
Yes, there's a higher chance of respect because, and for a couple of reasons. I think one of them really is because they'll in a lot of cases rely on their adult kids for advice, and their adult kids will go to them for advice, and so will their grandkids and stuff, and so those referrals come. But there's also friend to friend referrals,
right.
And we have a document. I interviewed an author who wrote a book about cross generational selling. And we talked about referrals, and really getting referrals from seniors is different in that, you're asking, who do you know that I can help now? Mm-hmm. Not someone in the future kind of thing. And so friend-to-friend referrals are a strong component. They want their friends to have a good experience as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously the marketing is going to be different than most real estate or typical real estate with online stuff. Do you find that is that a good avenue to market to, or is there other avenues that you use for marketing and to get in front of it?
Online is good. Print is better.
Okay.
And seniors are readers, and, they'll read anything that's relevant to them. One of the things that I suggest, I actually stole it from the Ottawa Real Estate Board. When you think of the things that are important to seniors, one of the things that, and I say to seniors, and I'm saying typically in all cases, but is we must follow the rules. And so I stole from the Ottawa Real Estate Board a 5-page version of the Code of Ethics. My experience is that they respect someone who says, hey, I follow these rules and I'm proud to, and they read those things. So print is a strong medium. More and more seniors are going online, so Facebook is great for senior women.
Right.
But it's a different messaging. That's all.
Right. Do you teach marketing techniques in the course then on how to reach your audience in a better way or a more effective way?
Yeah, we do some, as you well know, marketing is a subject that can and does take years. But we talk about, okay, so where do you get started with marketing? And, my premise is the place you get started is the people in your database who already know you and love you, and do they have senior parents? And I sort of use an analogy in class, and I ask, have you ever ordered pizza to be delivered? And, of course, everybody's pretty well ordered pizza to be delivered. And I say, yeah, so have I, and pizza's literally a 2-minute walk from my front door, but I pay $5 to have it delivered. Why? Because it's convenient.
Right.
Because I'm busy. And so, maybe your sort of 50-year-old clients or 40-year-old clients who have older parents, them with what mom and dad need, all of a sudden you gain this whole new level of value. And so then we go into, okay, so how am I going to provide that value to the adult kids of the seniors? And so it's educating at that level as well.
So would you say most of the training or the educating and relationship building is the seniors themselves, or is it the children?
It's extremely situational, but it has to be both, because a lot of the time people don't do something that they're not proactive as much as they are reactive.
Right.
And so if you find yourself where you've been talking with mom and dad and then a crisis happens, and you've never met the kids, chances are the kids will just call in their friend the realtor. So how do you get mom and dad to introduce you to the kids early in the process? And so that's something that we spend a chunk of time on, is to make sure that, and it's not about you when you do that. It's about making sure that all the stuff you've talked about with mom and dad, that they want to have happen, making sure that happens. And so then they're happy to introduce you to the kids. But it's stuff that a lot of the time agents get burned by the fact that, something happens to mom and dad, the kids come in, and the agent could have been working with mom and dad for a year. And then kids come in and bang, just like that, the agent's out of the picture. Well, okay, so let's give you the solution for that because it's a really pretty straightforward process. So.
Yeah, I know in my own family, I have some aunts and uncles that are in their 70s and 80s, and a lot of times they have that loyalty to somebody. They don't even really know the person. They just stuck by that person. They've known them. They heard about them 20 years ago. 10 years ago, whatever, and they just want to work with that person, don't really even know if they're a good agent or not. And then a lot of times the family steps in and says, here's who I would use or who I wouldn't use. So sometimes I know it can cause some issues.
Yeah. So it's really important to get to know the family. It can't stress that.
So do you have any strategies or tips for people to make that transition from if they know we're working with a senior to working with the kids or any other family members?
It's all about, the kids know that a crisis will come, or they know that, mom and dad have to make changes at some point. And so the key really is to get the kids into the conversation about, have you thought about what you're going to do? And if not, I can help you. I can have the conversation with you and sort of teach you how to have the conversation with mom and dad. And then simple stuff, but what it really comes down to is understanding that it's called a developmental agenda, and it's programmed into your DNA, where as you reach a certain point in life, the things that are important are figuring out your legacy and retaining control over your life, over where you live. Whereas for the adult kids, their sort of life priorities, their developmental agendas are finishing raising their kids, worrying about taking care of their parents, and making enough money for themselves to retire on. And so those two things often butt heads really heavily. And so it's helping, explaining how they can get past that and how they can effectively communicate with mom and dad, and let mom and dad know, that it's their choice, because until it's mom and dad's choice, they'll never do anything. Right. Yeah. That's sort of 40 minutes in class, but that's really the essentials of it.
Now, I would imagine that kind of move would be something that would be more situational, and a lot of times where it could be a health issue that comes up or something happens that changes the dynamics. Do you find you have to do a lot of marketing and reaching out a lot more earlier than, say, a typical middle-aged family?
Yeah, certainly in my experience, it was pretty common for people to, maybe the daughter would come and look at the retirement residence, and then, 2 years later, mom and dad would come and look, and a year or two later, mom and dad would move in. It's really common for sort of 3 to 5 years of research, or it's overnight crisis.
Yep.
There's sort of no in between. That's okay. I mean, it just is what it is.
So, what techniques or strategies do you use to stay on top of mind during that time frame when you know something could or couldn't happen?
It's really about keeping them informed as to what's going on. And for example, right now the retirement residence industry is kind of struggling. In Mississauga, there's an average vacancy rate of between 28 and 32%. So, that's tens of millions of dollars of revenue every month that's not being made by these residences. Right. But they have sales like crazy. Sales to the point of $1,000 a month off, for as long as you're there, that kind of thing. So it's letting people know that those things are out there, and does that make a difference to mom and dad? Or it's letting them know about the new facilities, or, letting them know about new government programs. There's just a new program come out from the province of Ontario. It's a tax credit, where if say the adult kids could make the basement senior friendly, and mom and dad could move in there, and the tax credits be a pretty decent thing. So are they aware of that? So it's being a source of valuable information, and maintaining the relationship with mom and dad. And with mom and dad, it's a lot of it is the social aspect of it.
Yeah. Do you find that deals go easier than in that kind of case where it's not closed and shut, but I mean if something happens, they have to move into a nursing home or a senior's home or something like that. Do you find it makes it a simpler process, or is it more of a complicated process when you're selling?
I would say that it can be much more complicated. And I think the complications come when the kids, aren't prepared. If the kids have a lot of say and they aren't prepared, then there can be real problems. And if there's a prolonged illness as well, then you have the huge array of emotional things that are going on. So again, it's what are they? How do you deal with them? And if people are involved with CCAC and stuff, a lot of people, majority of people say dealing with them is just an awful experience. So how can you help them through that? How can you prepare them? So that's a pretty valuable thing to keep in touch and stay top of mind, is how to educate the kids and the seniors on how that process is and how it's changing, and resources and that stuff.
So, I think we got a good handle of kind of the market as a whole. So, do you have one good takeaway for our listeners something that if someone is interested, or if they're wanting to take their business to the next level, if they already kind of are working with seniors, there's something that would be a good advice for them, other than taking your course, of course?
Yeah. I'm going to say really work on becoming a valuable resource to the family in sense of communication. I see communication skills, and I'll give you the name of a book. The name of the book is How to Say It to Seniors, and the author is David, and his last name is Solie. And I refer a lot of people to that book when the family is having struggles. I get agents call me and say, I'm going to kill my clients. I'm going to kill their kids. And just relax. Just give them each a copy of the book and tell them to read page so-and-so, and it'll explain it all. I think that's the thing. The other thing that is probably, if you don't work with seniors, be prepared for an emotional roller coaster. It can be a very emotional type of business, I would say that's probably the biggest takeaway is the communication.
Okay, great. So if people are interested in the ASA course, if they want to know more about it or know more about you, what's the best way for people to find out or get a hold of you?
If they want to know about the courses, they can go to asaevent.ca. And if they want to reach me, the best way is to text me at 647-865-8197.
Okay. And the accreditation, is that in Canada only, or is that in the United States as well, or what do you guys do with that?
No, it's in Canada only.
All right. Is there any programs like that in the States as well? So if any American listeners are listening, is there something similar?
Yeah, there's the CSHP, Certified Senior Housing Professional, which is a high level one, and then there's the SRES, which is sort of a step down from CSHP.
Okay, perfect. All right, so thanks, Chris, for being on the show. We really appreciate it.
Okay,
and hopefully, if any listeners are interested in working with seniors, you guys can check out the program and get certified.
Sounds great. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.